This story begins in a flower shop where a boy named Jae-sung was sick of studying as nothing was getting into his head. His mother came to collect the dishes from lunch and asked him when he was going to help make her life easier because studying for 5 minutes a day wasn't going to get him anywhere. His mother told him that Aunt Wang's daughter, Seo Ling, went to tutoring classes for 2 hours in the afternoon and worked much harder than him. Seeing that Song didn't change his mind and didn't want to study anymore, his mother asked him to help her hang the pots on the ceiling holder. She also advised him to tie them well, otherwise they could fall due to the wind. Song climbed the ladder and started hanging the plants. While he hung the plants, he asked his mother why they had to put them on the ceiling if they were going to water them later. As he was hanging one of the plants, Song wondered why he hadn't been born as a plant. He wanted to be a plant so he could bask in the sun and drink water every day without having to go to school or study. His mother noticed that he was hanging the plants wrong, so she asked him to come down. Then she scolded him, saying that he was a useless person with no ambitions who only thought about slacking off. His mother told him that even if he became a plant, he wouldn't survive for more than a day. Several hours later, Song left the house because his head hurt a lot from his mother scolding him. He didn't understand where his mother could come up with so many words. Song thought she was like a pea shooter. At that moment, a pot with a carnivorous plant slipped from a window of a building due to the wind. The pot fell with great speed towards his head, and because he didn't realize this, the pot fell directly on his head. Due to the blow, Song lost his life and the pot shattered, and the carnivorous plant stayed on his head. Several seconds later, Song began to hear his mother's voice calling him. He opened his eyes in front of his mother and father, along with a bunch of delicious dishes. Song thanked his mother for preparing such delicious dishes and began to eat. After a few bites, Song began to feel that something was wrong. Immediately, he spat out the food and realized he was eating soil. Seeing this, he thought he was dreaming. At that moment, he opened his eyes again, but this time he was in a much darker place, but he smelled something very pleasant. He had the sensation that his hands and feet were tied up. Song saw a light in the sky, and after much effort, he managed to escape from the dark place he was in. Upon stepping outside, he began to receive the rays of sunlight, and he started to feel a very pleasant sensation. He thought nothing had happened and that he had just fallen asleep, but as he looked at his hand, he slowly began to realize what was happening. By touching his head and looking around, he realized that he had turned into a plant. Song panicked because he didn't know what was happening or why he had become a plant. He finally remembered that after lunch, he had gone to school and on the way, a pot had fallen on his head. He thought the person who had placed the pot on the window was even worse at placing pots than him. Quickly, he realized that the flower pot had caused his death and now he had been reborn in another world as a plant. Song remembered that he had previously wished to have a very comfortable life like that of plants. He wanted to sunbathe every day and not go to school or study. Because he had wished to be a plant, he had now been reborn as a plant. Song started crying and asking for help from the gods as he wanted to return to his human form. At that moment, Song remembered that in reincarnation novels, the protagonists always had a system and ended up becoming the strongest. He began to wonder where his system was and why he hadn't heard any notification sound when he woke up underground. Song started screaming and calling for the system. His screams were so loud that they even scared the other plants around him. 1 week had passed since Song had been reborn as a plant. Seeing that the system did not appear, he began to think that the system did not exist, as he had been trying to call the system all week. Song didn't know why a young boy like him had been reborn as a flower. Song felt very healthy, as he was in a piece of land that was rich in nutrients, also it was fragrant and delicious. After several minutes, the sunlight began to disappear, and when looking up, Song realized that the other flowers were taking all the sunlight. This scene was very familiar to Song, as when he was human, the same thing used to happen in class, because others always stepped on him because he was shy and didn't do anything about it. Without thinking twice, Song stretched his stems and forcefully moved the other flowers aside because he was determined to be better than the others. After several seconds, Song finally saw the pleasant sunlight again. At that moment, he began to see the silhouette of an animal approaching. After a while, Song could see that this animal was an alpaca. His parents had always been busy in his previous life, so they had never taken him to the zoo. He was quite amazed, as this was the first time he saw a divine beast and thought it was quite adorable. At that moment, he panicked as he remembered that alpacas eat plants. He didn't know if the alpaca was coming to feed on them. The alpaca approached them and opened its mouth, and with an evil expression, it started screaming. Immediately, Song lowered his head and started asking for help as he didn't want to die. The alpaca took the stems of the other plants and started eating them. After eating the plants, the alpaca turned around and started walking away. Seeing this, Song felt quite lucky as he had been reborn as a plant that was not to the alpaca's taste. The alpaca left and along the way left a large pile of excrement near Song. He looked at the excrement and then looked at the ground and immediately realized why this soil was so nutritious and delicious. Song couldn't help but vomit upon learning that he had been growing in the midst of alpaca feces. After several days, the flowers bloomed and alongside them did Song. His appearance was different from the other flowers as they looked at him with contempt. A mirror appeared out of nowhere in front of Song, and immediately he saw that he had turned into a flower with a big mouth. This flower was quite familiar to him, as he used to face this flower in a game he played when he was human. Song looked around and realized why the other flowers were looking at him strangely. In that moment, Song remembered that he had just seen his appearance in a mirror. He started touching the mirror and wondered where it had come from. The mirror disappeared and a system window appeared, congratulating him for entering the juvenile stage. And as a reward, it told him that the system called Ryua had been activated. Song was happy to see the system, as he finally had his own system. At that moment, the system called Ryua manifested as a woman-looking man and told him that he was his adorable system companion and also showed him a status window. He was a big mouth flower from outer space, measuring 0.3 meters, and was level 0 with no genes. His attack ability was swallowing. He had no defense ability or any special abilities. He was a big mouth flower planted in alpaca feces, and compared to the other flowers, he was just a little chick. Song didn't understand what all those statistics were. He was disappointed because he thought Ryua had mistaken him for someone else, as according to the novels he had read, he should have a system with which he could dominate the world. Another system window appeared, granting him several evolution points for basking in the sun for a minute. Song's expression changed and he became happy because he thought with these points he could improve his statistics and quickly become the strongest. He thought this system was quite broken, as it kept giving him evolution points for every minute he sunbathed. In an instant, Song gained 100 points. He was a plant with a system that had tricks. He considered himself the invincible king. With the system, he began to mock the other flowers because he thought they could no longer compete against him. Ryua approached and told him that the system was incredible, and for reaching 100 evolution points, he gave him the option to strengthen the flower, stem, leaves, roots, fruits, or seeds in all other parts of his body. Song couldn't help but feel like a genius, and without hesitation, he told Ryua that he wanted to strengthen the stem because he wanted to grow taller and soak up even more sun. Song spent his 100 evolution points and strengthened his stem, and the height of his plant increased by 0.003 meters. Song got angry with Ryua as he had spent 100 evolution points and only increased a few millimeters in height. Ryua replied that if he wanted to grow more, he had to accumulate many more points. Song believed her words and started sunbathing even more because he wanted to surpass the other flowers. After several minutes, a wasp appeared and started buzzing around Song. At first, he didn't do anything because he thought it wouldn't sting him. The wasp kept buzzing around him, and upon seeing this, he got angry and tried to swat it away, telling it to go away once and for all because he was a flower that didn't have nectar. While the wasp dodged his strikes, it accidentally flew into Song's mouth. Unconsciously, he swallowed the wasp, and upon doing so, he panicked as he had lived for 17 years and this was the first time he had ever eaten a large live wasp. Without thinking twice, he tried to get it out because he had eaten it by accident. While doing this, he thought that the wasp tasted good despite being an insect, but immediately changed his mind as he had previously thought the same of ground contaminated by alpaca droppings. At that moment, Ryua appeared to congratulate him on completing his first gulp, and as a reward, she gave him a treasure chest from the blind box that could be opened with 10,000 evolution points. The blind box treasure chest was a type of item that could be obtained after consuming a living being and using a certain amount of evolution points. By opening the chest, he could obtain large amounts of evolution points or special genes. At first, Song thought that this was pretty broken as he could obtain this chest after devouring a living being, but then he realized that he had to spend 10,000 evolution points just to open the chest. Upon seeing the points required to open the chest, Song thought that it would take him years to get the 10,000 points by sunbathing. After this, 5 days passed, and during these 5 days, Song worked very hard every day to sunbathe, absorb moisture and nutrients from the soil. He had finally accumulated 10,000 points. Without thinking twice, Song called Ryua and told her he wanted to open the chest. Ryua appeared and using the 10,000 evolution points, she opened the blind box treasure chest. Upon opening the chest, Song obtained a B-rank gene called Vine that could be fused with his body. This ability was a climbing, woody, or herbaceous plant that sent roots into the ground. Upon seeing this, Song thought that if he combined his body with this gene, then he could become the tentacle monster. Seeing so many status windows, he saw that he had 6 core parts and corresponding abilities, so without thinking twice, he told Ryua that he wanted to fuse this gene with his body. Ryua used her powers and began fusing the Vine gene with his body, and after several seconds, the fusion was completed. Now Song could turn his stem into a thick creeper and whip his opponents strongly. With this gene, Song proclaimed himself as the tentacle monster. Song felt that these stems were as agile as his human fingers. In the future, he planned to make the stem emerge from the ground to attack his opponents by surprise, as he thought this was a good trick to ambush the wasps. At that moment, Song started to hear a buzzing sound, and when he looked to where the buzzing was coming from, he realized it was another wasp. Seeing this, Song thought he had gotten into trouble with a wasp nest. But then he thought this was a good moment to test his new gene. He elongated his stem and used the lightning whip strike against the wasp. But the stem stopped just before impacting the wasp because it was too short. Song thought that for now he shouldn't rush to catch the wasp, but instead he should wait for the wasp to come closer to him. Song waited patiently and the wasp soon approached him. When the wasp was within reach of his stem, he used the lightning whip strike again to attack the wasp. But just before the stem could reach the wasp, a tongue saved the wasp. Song didn't know what was happening, and when he looked to the side he saw a yellow lizard had stolen his prey. Song became furious and attacked the yellow lizard using the lightning whip strike. In an instant he caught the lizard's tail. The lizard tried to free itself from the stem using all its strength. Song asked the lizard how dare it run away after stealing his prey. At that moment, the lizard cut off its own tail and due to the recoil force, the stem hit back at Song. The lizard took advantage of this and escaped at full speed. At that moment Song remembered that lizards could perform autotomy. Since he had no other choice, he ate the lizard's tail to taste it. After eating the tail, he waited for several minutes and no system window appeared. Seeing this, Song concluded that he could only obtain chests if he ate a whole prey. In the area where he was, there were very few insects, so it was very difficult to obtain a chest. After a week, Song finally saw an insect, and without thinking twice he caught it using the stem and ate it. A system window appeared to grant him a blind reward chest for swallowing a dung beetle. Upon learning that he had eaten a dung beetle, Song became furious and tried to spit it out, as he thought he had swallowed a normal beetle, but then he thought that it didn't matter because he was a flower that had grown in alpaca dung. Song opened the chest and obtained 20,000 evolution points. Seeing this, he didn't know how he could continue to obtain evolution points by eating dung beetles. He thought he was very lucky, as he had obtained 20,000 points. He wasn't interested in obtaining genes by eating strange things like giant caterpillars or green flies. Ruhua told him that he should eat strange things to obtain the best reward from the system. At that moment, the yellow lizard came back running at great speed. Seeing this, Song became happy and used the lightning whip strike to catch it and get revenge on the lizard for stealing his prey. Behind the lizard, there was a tongue coming towards him at great speed. Thanks to his quick reflexes, the lizard dodged the attacks at the last second. This tongue belonged to a giant frog. Instantly the giant frog with a sinister look appeared in front of Song. The giant frog jumped to attack Song, and upon seeing its size, he panicked, but then became furious as he thought the giant frog considered him an easy target. Without thinking twice, he used the lightning whip strike and delivered a strong blow to the frog. Due to the blow, the frog fell several centimeters back. After several seconds, the frog stood up and furiously started to look for the culprit. In a matter of seconds it realized that Song was the culprit. Seeing that the frog had stood up, Song attacked again using the lightning whip strike. The frog, seeing that it was going to be attacked again, blocked the attack with its head as it had previously hardened its head. After blocking the attack, it quickly grabbed the stem and crushed it against the ground using all its strength. Then it started to stretch the stem to attract Song towards it. Song didn't know how this giant frog could harden its body. It didn't take him long to realize that this frog was very clever. The giant frog stuck out its tongue and stretched it to coil around Song's body. Seeing this, he didn't know what the giant frog had planned. At that moment, the giant frog started to stretch with all its strength to rip Song's roots out of the ground. Little by little, the frog began to pull Song's roots from the ground, and because his roots were coming loose from the soil, he began to feel immense pain as if his body were being torn apart, although he didn't know that plants could feel pain too. Before, he used to take his anger out on the flowers and wild herbs of the field, and now that this was happening to him, he thought that the gods were punishing him. He was in trouble. Soon he would be completely uprooted from the ground, and if this happened, he would die. At that moment, the yellow lizard returned and climbed onto a branch. Seeing Song's expression, the lizard asked him to be quiet because he was going to attack him by surprise. Seeing this, Song was shocked because he didn't know in what world he had been reborn, since all the animals were very intelligent. The lizard made a huge leap and landed on the giant frog's head, then opened his mouth full of teeth and with all his might bit him in the eye. Immediately, the giant frog let go of Song's stem due to the immense pain and then fell to the ground. The yellow lizard quickly jumped and moved away from the area. Seeing this, Song felt relieved and then angered as he wanted to get revenge on the frog. Using his stems, Song wrapped the giant frog's body and then threw it to the ground with all his strength. Next, he began to beat the frog against the ground. Due to the blows, the frog began to expel saliva, and thanks to the saliva, his body slipped from the stem and fell to the ground. Song was confused because he didn't know what had happened. The frog quickly got up and ran away at full speed. Seeing that the frog was fleeing, Song tried to catch it again, but unfortunately, the frog was already too far for the reach of his stems. He was furious because he had let a frog that had mocked him escape. He thought that being a plant was dangerous, as today he was almost killed by a simple frog. He wanted to be human again. At that moment, the yellow lizard began to approach him, and seeing the lizard, Song thought that it wanted to apologize for attracting the giant frog to him. To his surprise, the yellow lizard began to gather soil and started placing it around his roots to replant him again. Seeing this, Song was impressed, as the yellow lizard had evolved so much that it knew how to replant plants. Song thanked him for helping him get rid of the frog and also for replanting him, and also told him that he would not argue with him about the frog issue. The yellow lizard smiled and made a sound. Seeing this, Song began to wonder if the lizard could understand his words. He also began to wonder if the lizard also knew how to use the environment to attack enemies. He didn't know if he was speaking the language of plants or animals. While he was distracted, the lizard started to leave without saying goodbye. Seeing this, Song was disappointed, as he thought he had found a companion he could talk to. The yellow lizard moved away a bit, but then stopped. Then, using its tongue, it caught a flying beetle and returned to Song. Then, using its tongue, it hit Song and then took the beetle out of its mouth. Seeing this, he was confused as he didn't know what was happening. The lizard began to point at the bug and immediately Song asked if it was trying to feed him with the beetle from its mouth. The lizard happily nodded, and seeing this, Song rejected its offer and told it that he could catch bugs himself. The lizard ignored his words and approached even closer. Seeing that he had no other choice, Song decided to eat it and decided to ignore the lizard's saliva, as he didn't care about it because evolution was really what mattered to him. System windows appeared and began to congratulate him for eating a beetle, and as a reward, they gave him another blind prize chest. Song considered this chest a welcome gift from the lizard, so he asked the lizard if it wanted to open it. Seeing that the lizard didn't understand this, Song thought he had overestimated its intelligence, so he told it to just say the words open or don't open. The lizard said open, and upon hearing this, Song told Ruhua to open the chest. Ruhua opened the chest and Song obtained the level B vine plant gene. At that moment, the system detected that he had already merged a vine stem before, so it asked if he wanted to enhance the existing vine or add a new vine. Without hesitation, Song chose to enhance the existing vine. He thanked the yellow lizard for obtaining this reward. Although it was the same vine gene, he had two options, to enhance or add the gene. Song remembered that he had almost been uprooted before due to the lack of vines. He changed his mind and told Ruhua that he wanted to add a new gene to his stem to get another vine. Ruhua obeyed him, and using his wand, he merged the gene with his stem. The fusion was successful, and now he had two vines. One of them was thicker and could whip his opponents strongly or use it more intelligently. Song wasn't satisfied with this, so he asked Ruhua why he hadn't been more generous and given him a thicker vine, as now one of his stems was bigger and longer, while the other stem was much smaller. Ruhua replied that there were no shortcuts here. Now that Song had enough evolution points, Ruhua was confident that the stem would grow thicker and larger very soon. Song told Ruhua to stop saying nonsense and asked him to be more serious from now on. Upon hearing this, Ruhua replied that he always spoke seriously. Song thought that arguing with Ruhua was pointless, so he started talking to the yellow lizard and told him that from now on he would help him scare away the giant frog, and in return, he had to bring him food every day. The lizard nodded, and Song told him that if he ever was in danger in the future, he could come seek his help, as he was willing to protect him, but on the condition that he had to catch an insect for him every day. Now that Song was a plant that couldn't move due to limited reach, it was very helpful for him to have a mobile companion who could help him catch insects so that he could improve his genes and level up quickly. Upon seeing Song's expression, the lizard began to doubt whether he should really help him and bring insects for him every day. Seeing this, Song told him that this would not only benefit him, but both of them, as the stronger he became, the more and better security he could provide. Upon hearing these words, the lizard changed his mind, and seeing this, a tired Song told him that from now on, he would treat him well. Song also told him that from now on, he would start calling him Wong instead of the yellow lizard. Upon hearing this name, the yellow lizard became confused, as he didn't know if this was the ideal name for him. Seeing his puzzled look, Song told him not to waste the name he had given him, as he was a student at the specialized rocket high school. A few days later, Song opened a chest and obtained the grade B green ears gene. The system asked him if he wanted to fuse it with his body. Song told Wong that all of this was thanks to having a fortunate pet like him. It had only been a few days, and he had already obtained a new plant gene. Song told Ruhua to fuse the green ears gene with his seed, and using his powers, Ruhua fused it with his seed. A system window appeared to inform him that the green ears gene had been fused with his seed, so now he could expel green ears from his mouth and give his opponents a good massage, as the sour and refreshing taste would be unforgettable for them. Song asked Ruhua if he wouldn't hurt himself by spitting out the green ears from his mouth. Ruhua took a booger from his nose and threw it at Song, telling him that expelling the green ears was as simple as removing boogers from the nose. Ruhua advised him to open his mouth wide and gag to expel them without hurting himself. Song made a vomiting gesture, and after a few seconds, 4 green ears shot out of his mouth. He couldn't believe it. Now he had a sharp pain in his throat and felt as if it was burning with pain. Ruhua told him that greatness had a price, so he recommended him to try the true power of the green ears. Carefully, Song took one of the green ears with one of his stems and was surprised to see that he didn't hurt himself. He quickly concluded that this was because his stems had become stronger. At that moment, Song started juggling the green ears and told Wong that he had an idea. Song handed Wong a dry leaf and told him to stand in a distant place. Wong didn't know if this idea was good, but had no choice but to listen to Song because he kept insisting. Hwang stood in a far place and lifted the dry leaf with one of his arms. Song used his stems to launch the green ears with great speed and called this move the green ears shot. Song missed his shot and hit Hwang's tail, causing it to split in half. Seeing this, Hwang was confused as he didn't know if this was a good idea. Song told him it was an accident, but Hwang didn't believe him and started looking at him disdainfully. Seeing this, Song got angry as he thought Hwang didn't respect him. Without hesitation, he took more green ears and started throwing them at him with great speed. This time, instead of hitting Hwang, the green ears hit the bushes behind him. Song realized that he had very poor aim, but he was willing to improve because as long as he practiced diligently, he would improve his aim. A few days later, Hwang began to hunt bugs and collect water from tree trunks in a bowl. After collecting water, Hwang started to return to Song. While he was eating an insect, he started to wonder why Hwang was taking so long. He was very hungry, but didn't understand how he could still feel hunger even though he had turned into a plant. Hwang returned with the water in the bowl, and Song was surprised at how quickly Hwang was learning. At first, he used to bring the water in his mouth, but now he had managed to get a bowl. Hwang brought the water in a bowl, but he still brought the insects in his mouth. Seeing this, Song told him that next time he should bring the bugs in a tree trunk to be more hygienic. Song swallowed one of the insects, and Ryuha appeared to congratulate him for swallowing a green fly, and as a reward, he gave him a chest. This time, instead of opening the chest, Song decided not to open it as he wanted to become a little stronger first and improve his aim. He felt great knowing that someone could feed him. This was the kind of life he wanted, a relaxed and comfortable life. After eating and drinking, Song started training his aim with the green ears. Although he had been practicing for days, his aim was still quite bad. Song swallowed another insect and was not willing to give up because he knew that if he kept practicing, he would improve. While they were practicing, a giant frog started looking at them with a deadly look from some bushes. After several minutes, while Hwang collected the green ears, the giant frog took advantage of his distraction and came out of the bush. In an instant, it used its tongue to catch Hwang. Song couldn't do anything about it, so the giant frog swallowed Hwang. After swallowing Hwang, the frog started to flee, and upon seeing this, Song became enraged and was determined to kill the frog for devouring his friend. In a matter of seconds, Hwang reached the stomach of the giant frog. Once inside the stomach, Hwang had an idea and quickly started placing the green ears on the walls of the frog's stomach. Immediately, the frog realized that something was wrong inside her and instinctively opened her mouth and vomited her stomach. Seeing this, Song was shocked as he didn't know what had happened to the giant frog. Taking advantage of the frog's dazed state, Hwang escaped. At that moment, Song remembered that he had previously seen a video in which a frog ate a poisonous worm and then vomited it out. He concluded that if frogs ate something poisonous, they would vomit out their own stomachs to protect the other organs. Seeing Hwang holding the green ears, Song realized that the frog had vomited because of the green ears. After several seconds, the giant frog swallowed her stomach again, and then, upon seeing Hwang alive, she became enraged and leaped to capture him once more. Song was furious with her, so he used the lightning whip against the frog, but to his surprise, the giant frog reacted in time and dodged the attack. Then she caught the vines with her arms and then extended her tongue to catch Song, but to her misfortune her tongue was too far away to reach Song's body. With an evil smile, Song told the frog that the petrification wouldn't save her this time. As a gift, Song gave her a math problem and asked her how many green ears he had spit out in total if he spat out 5 green ears every day. Quickly, the frog calculated the answer and knew that she was in danger. Using the vines, Song hit the giant frog's body against the 50 green ears. After hitting her once, Song lifted her body again and hit it against the green ears. Seeing Song's aggression, Hwang was terrified. After hitting the giant frog several more times against the green ears, Song lifted her body into the air and with all his strength, he split the frog's body in half. He didn't expect the green ears to help him tear apart his enemies. If he hadn't split the frog, he wouldn't have been able to swallow her due to her large size. Song handed a piece of meat to Hwang and told him that comrades should share good luck and face difficulties together. Hwang was pleased, jumped and caught the piece of meat. Song feasted on the frog, thinking that the taste wasn't bad. This time, he didn't know if the system would give him a chest for eating a piece of frog meat since the last time he had devoured Hwang's tail, he hadn't received any chest. At that moment, Ryuha appeared and congratulated him for devouring a horned frog, rewarding him with 2 chests. Song was surprised because he didn't expect to get 2 chests at once. He asked Ryuha why the last time he had eaten Hwang's tail he hadn't gotten any chests, and why this time he got 2 chests even though he had only eaten a piece of meat. Ryuha told him that the system determined that a living being had to be personally killed by the owner in order to be rewarded with a chest after consumption. Small living beings that Song could devour in one bite would always give him a chest, while larger living beings needed to be chewed slowly, and each bite of their meat had a certain probability of granting him a chest. However, that completely depended on luck, as even if Song's stomach bursted, he would only get 1 chest. While Ryuha explained this to him, the system gave Song another chest for eating the horned frog meat. In an instant, he had obtained 3 chests, and upon seeing so many chests, Song thought he was very lucky as he had only eaten a piece of frog meat and already got 3 chests. Rahua told him that if he was lucky, he could even get a chest for each bite. Song told Rahua not to underestimate his beloved owner in that way. In a matter of minutes, Song and Hwang filled their stomachs by eating the giant frog's meat. Song finally understood what Rahua had told him before, that even if his stomach bursted, he would only get 1 chest. Rahua told him that it was his problem for having such luck. He asked Song if he wanted to open the chest. Song told him not to open it as he didn't feel like opening chests. Now that both of their stomachs were full, he didn't know what he was going to do with all the other meat. If he didn't do something about it, this meat would attract carnivorous animals to the area. Currently, he couldn't fight against these animals as he would be defeated with a single blow. At that moment, he found the solution to this problem. Song thought he could bury it and turn it into organic fertilizer. In his previous life, one day Song saw his mother burying a fish in the ground. Confused, he asked her why she was burying dead fish under the fruit trees. His mother told him that the soil microorganisms would decompose the fish's body into carbon dioxide, water, and inorganic salts. His mother explained that these substances could be absorbed and used by the fruit trees. If the fruit trees absorbed these substances, they could grow more lush and the fruits would be more delicious. At first, Song thought of using his vines to dig a hole, but then he realized that they weren't sharp. He thought he needed to find a suitable tool to dig a hole. He needed a shovel or a hoe, but finding these tools would be very difficult. He wanted to make these tools, so he asked Hwang to go and find thick branches and fine stones like sheets. Hwang went to look for branches and stones, but Song wasn't very sure if he really understood what he had to look for. After several minutes, Hwang returned with a pair of branches and a piece of clay. Seeing the branches and clay, Song told him that these branches were too thin and useless since they broke just by touching them. The piece of clay was too fragile. He told Hwang to go and find something harder but fine like a solid rock. Hwang stared at the broken branches and the piece of clay, and after several seconds, he nodded and quickly went to fetch what Song had asked for. After several minutes, Hwang returned with a dogtail grass and some soil that smelled like poop. Song told him to go and find again, and after several seconds, Hwang brought him a tree trunk. Seeing the things Hwang had brought, Song thought he had overestimated Hwang's intelligence. After several minutes, Hwang returned, but this time he brought a broken arrow and a sharp piece of bone. Seeing these things, Song became happy as he thought there could be humans or other intelligent creatures capable of using tools and melting iron in this world. The broken arrow was quite sharp and the broken bone was also very sharp, so Song told Hwang that if a crazy frog dared to come and attack them, they would stab it in the stomach. Song handed the broken bone to Hwang and told him they could start working now. Using the 2 tools, both of them began digging a hole in the ground. After several hours of hard work, they managed to dig a large hole in the ground. Song told Hwang to find a way to put the frog in the hole. Hwang used his tongue to put the body of the giant frog into the hole, and after several hours, they covered its body with dirt. Now that they were done, Song couldn't smell the smell of blood anymore, so he thought they were safe from carnivorous animals. He still didn't know how he could smell the smell of blood if he was a plant. Now that the frog was underground, Song began absorbing nutrients using his roots, and the system rewarded him with several points. Currently, he couldn't receive many points because the frog's body hadn't decomposed. This was slower than eating pieces of meat. Song remembered that he still had 3 chests, so he called Rahua and told him he wanted to open 1 chest. Rahua appeared and asked him which of the 3 chests he wanted to open first. Song asked Hwang which chest he should open first. Using his toes, Hwang indicated that he wanted to open chest number 2. Song told Rahua to open the second chest. Rahua opened the chest, and Song obtained the B-grade gene called Jing-Jai Thorn. Song caressed Hwang because he was really lucky. Song told Rahua to fuse this thorn gene with his stem, and with his powers, Rahua fused the thorns with his stem. This new thorn gene allowed his vines to be thicker and stronger, and now he had very sharp thorns. If someone tried to hug him, their skin would fall off. Song thought that these new vines were like electric whips. He used his new whip strike against a bush, and due to the strike, many leaves fell to the ground. Seeing that his new vine was very strong, Song thought he could seriously injure a frog with it. He wasn't satisfied with this, so he told Hwang to choose another chest. Hwang chose chest number 3, and this time Song obtained 20,000 evolution points. 1 out of every 3 chests contained a new gene, and the probability of getting it in a box was 33%. Despite Hwang getting 20,000 points in this chest, Song thought he still had more luck than him because he had opened 10 chests and hadn't gotten anything. Now that Song had green ears, the thorny vine, the broken arrow, and the broken bone, his defensive ability had increased a lot. The next day, Hwang started attracting another giant frog towards Song while carrying the green ears in case the frog tried to eat him. After several seconds, Hwang finally reached Song, and he immediately used his new thorny vine to trap the giant frog. Then he hit it against the ground and ended its life. Then, using the broken arrow, Song turned the frog into pieces of meat. After that, they both ate the meat and started celebrating their victory. While they were eating, Rahua appeared and handed 3 boxes to Song as a reward for devouring a poisonous green frog. He thought that fighting against these frogs could be fun because he could get food in boxes. In a matter of minutes, Song filled his stomach, and he decided it was time to open a box because this time he had gotten 5 boxes. Song opened one of the boxes and obtained a B-grade gene called sweet potato. The sweet potato was also known as kama. The roots of the sweet potato were divided into 3 forms: fibrous root, woody root, and tuberous root. The main function of the tuberous root was to store nutrients and reproduce, making it rich in starch. Song was confused, so he asked Ruhua what the benefits of merging this gene were. Ruhua explained to him that burying food scraps in the soil to decompose and become organic fertilizer was not only wasteful but also time-consuming. After merging the sweet potato genes, Song could quickly convert food into nutrients stored in the tuberous roots. Song asked what the purpose of the tuberous roots with stored nutrients was, as he thought that when he was hungry, he could take them out and roast them like sweet potatoes. Ruhua told him that it didn't work that way. The nutrients stored in the tuberous roots allowed him to grow strong, even when lacking food, water, and minerals. Most importantly, they could also help him heal wounds quickly. Song finally understood the power of this sweet potato gene, as it was like a potion that could slowly restore his life. Without hesitation, Song asked Ruhua to merge the sweet potato gene with his body. Using his powers, Ruhua merged the sweet potato gene with Song's root, and now he could quickly decompose food and convert it into nutrients, storing them in his new tuberous roots. After merging with this gene, Song didn't see any changes in his body. Seeing this, Ruhua told him not to worry anymore if he didn't have space in his stomach to eat the rest of the frog, as he could now use his mind to manipulate the roots and store the food. Hearing this, Song began to say out loud that he wanted to store the food, and within seconds, roots emerged from the ground and started engulfing the body of the giant frog. Now Song could feel how the roots wrapped around the food and dragged it into the ground to quickly decompose and produce tuberous roots with stored nutrients. This gene was very convenient, as he no longer had to dig more holes to store the bodies of animals he couldn't eat, thus not having to worry about attracting other carnivorous animals if he didn't finish his food. Ruhua explained that if he used this gene correctly, it would be as easy as controlling his vines. In the future, when he went hunting, he could test the healing effects of the sweet potato gene. If it worked well, he would have an extra life. Now he just needed to improve his tuberous roots several times to get various additions, making his defense stronger. The next day, a red snake tried to attack him, but thanks to his new thorny vines, he defended himself quite easily. Then he wrapped the snake's body with his thorny vines and forcefully hit it against the ground. At that moment, Huang appeared with a broken bone and delivered a strong blow to the snake. Within seconds, thanks to teamwork, they defeated the snake without much effort. After defeating the snake, Song praised Huang and told him to strike the enemies where it hurt the most. During their fight against the snake had bitten him several times on the thorny vines, but as a plant, the venom had no effect on him. Within seconds, his wounds were healed thanks to the sweet potato gene. After hunting the snake, they both took out their weapons as it was time to eat. While they ate, it started to rain. Quickly, Song used the thorny vines to create a roof to protect themselves from the rain. He had already eaten, so he told Huang that he could take shelter under the thorny vines to keep eating. After eating, Huang laid down beside him. Song felt more and more like this was his own territory. He had food, drink, reserved food, and even a friendly pet. He had everything, but he still lacked having a girlfriend. Hearing this, Ruhua approached him and asked if he wasn't his girlfriend. Song smacked him with the green ears and told him to go away. The days were passing, and he was starting to wander aimlessly. With his current appearance, he thought he should look for an exemplary female with a big mouth. After several days, a month had passed since Song had become a big-mouthed flower. During this time, he had managed to grow another thorny vine, and he also had 3 large roots equivalent to 3 life-saving potions. While Song waited for Wang to return from hunting, a large figure started approaching the area where he was. At first, Song thought it was Wang, but upon closer inspection, he realized it was a person. Seeing a human, he realized that there were humans in this world too. Song tried to get the man's attention since it was the first time he saw a human in this world. After seeing that the man ignored him, Song thought that he couldn't communicate with him now because he was no longer human but a strange big-mouthed flower. But even so, he was not willing to give up, so he started calling out to him again as he wanted to know more about this world. At first, the man looked in his direction, but then moved away and sat near some plants. Seeing this, Song thought that the man couldn't hear his voice because it was too low. As he saw the man sitting there, he began to wonder what he was doing. At that moment, the man pulled out a herb from the ground and with an evil expression said aloud that he couldn't believe there was valuable detoxifying grass in a place like this. After this, the man unearthed another flower using a shovel. This flower was the flower of immortality, the main ingredient to refine the elixir of immortality. Upon seeing this, Song became nervous, as now he was a plant, and furthermore, he was a rather unique flower. He thought that the man would also unearth him and turn him into medicine. The man began to look around and realized that this place had valuable herbs. Seeing this, Song began to pray that he wouldn't look towards him, but to his misfortune, the man stared directly at him and started to think about what kind of plant he might be. After thinking for several seconds, the man couldn't determine what kind of plant Song was, so he pulled out a record book and started to search for what kind of plant Song was. After checking the entire book, the man was surprised to see that there was no record of him. The man began to approach Song with the intention of unearthing him, as he thought he had found a new medicinal herb. The man started to bring his hands closer to grab him, but at that moment, Song unconsciously used his thorny vines and pricked the man's hand. The man immediately withdrew his hand and was shocked because he had found a strange plant with a bunch of thorns. The man began to approach his hand carefully to avoid the prickles. At that moment, he remembered that he had previously heard a faint cry coming from the plant. The difference in size between Song and the man was too great. A moment ago, he had hit the man's hand with all his might, but he only felt something sharp. The man didn't even realize that Song had attacked him. He thought it was his own fault and believed that he had accidentally touched the thorns. Faced with absolute strength, Song was just a fragile and delicate plant. Just before the man could grab Song, the man turned around because he heard someone approaching. As he looked towards the sound of footsteps, he realized that it was his companion coming with a giant egg. Immediately, the man moved away from Song and was happy to see that his companion had found the egg so quickly. His companion passed by his side and told him to start running, as when he was stealing the egg, the mother dragon discovered him. The man was shocked to hear this, and at that moment the mother dragon arrived towards them and began descending at high speed. Seeing this, his companion told him they had to flee quickly or the dragon was going to catch them. The man refused, as before running away he wanted to unearth Song because he was a very strange plant. His companion told him it wasn't worth risking their lives for a simple plant. The man decided to listen to his companion and started to flee, although he planned on coming back for Song once they distracted the mother dragon. Song became furious upon hearing this and thought he had to do something about it because he couldn't let the man come back to unearth him. The mother dragon descended to the ground and started chasing them, and seeing this, Song started extending his thorny vines as he was ready to take revenge on them so they would never set foot in this place again. Just before the two men could escape, Song entangled the thorny vines around their legs. The two men were confused as they didn't know what was happening. In a matter of seconds, both fell to the ground because they had the thorny vines tangled around their legs. Due to the large size of the two men, several roots of Song detached from the ground. But he didn't care about this because he had managed to bring down the two humans who were much bigger than him. The dragon's egg fell to the ground and rolled towards some bushes. Upon seeing this, the mother dragon became enraged and started approaching the two men. The man with brown hair realized that something had caused them to fall to the ground. As they got up from the ground, the mother dragon reached them. The two men began to run again, but in a matter of seconds, the mother dragon caught them. In the blink of an eye, the dragon grabbed the two men's. Upon seeing this, the blonde man drew a sword and cut one of the dragon's claws. In pain, the dragon let go of the two men's. As they were falling, the dragon became angry and quickly advanced towards them with its mouth open. Upon witnessing this scene, Song thought they were already dead. He felt guilty because indirectly he had caused the death of two people. Song thought that if he hadn't intervened, the two of them would have escaped, but then he thought that if they escaped, they would eventually come back to unearth him and use his body to create medicine. He stopped feeling guilty for the death of the two as he was fighting for his own survival. Song remembered that the dragon's egg had fallen near him, so when the mother dragon returned, he would be in danger because she could crush him with a single step. At that moment, the mother dragon returned to the area, and upon seeing her, Song thought his death was imminent. But luckily, she flew past the area and avoided picking up her egg. Song started calling her to come back and retrieve her egg. Several minutes passed and the mother dragon did not return, and upon seeing this, Song realized that it was the first time she was a mother, as she only thought about killing the enemy and didn't even care about her own child. Song began to extend his thorny vines to retrieve the egg without piercing it, but then he realized that the egg was too far away. At that moment, Hwang returned with a bowl full of water. Upon seeing the egg and Song trying to reach it with the vines, he became confused. Song told Hwang to try pushing the egg towards him. Hwang obeyed and started pushing the egg, but to his bad luck, the egg was too big. No matter how hard Hwang pushed, he was unable to move the egg. Upon seeing this, Song showed him how to use leverage if he wanted to move it, and told him to go fetch rocks and a thick branch. Hwang picked up a rock and placed it behind the egg, then placed the branch on top of the rock and under the egg. He then began to leverage with all his strength, and within seconds, he managed to move the egg. Quickly, Song extended his vines and surrounded the egg. He then asked Hwang what to do with the egg, as he couldn't swallow it due to its size. If he broke the egg, he couldn't eat it either. He couldn't swallow or break it, and if he did nothing, the carnivore's animals would come here. He also couldn't absorb the egg with his roots, as he had 3 nutrient blocks stored within them. At that moment, the egg started cracking. Upon seeing this, Song began to wonder what kind of dragon would come out of the egg. Within a few seconds, the egg cracked, and a girl with white hair and a dragon tail came out of the egg. Song was disappointed, as he couldn't understand how a diaper-wearing girl came out of a dragon egg. A tall, strong boy like Song had been reborn as a flower, so anything was possible in this world. The girl started crying, but then she calmed down and grabbed a piece of shell and started eating it. Song tried to stop her, saying that it was an eggshell and not edible. But then he remembered that he had read in novels that after baby dragons crack their shells, they eat their own shells. The girl ate all the pieces of shell except one that was underneath her. She started straining to reach it, and because of this, she fell backward. Song was somewhat confused seeing this and thought that the girl was born with some issues. After breaking the eggshell, the girl started looking at Song, then she began crawling towards him and then started calling him mommy. Upon hearing this, Song looked at Hwang and then became confused, as he didn't know why the girl was calling him mommy. He had heard that birds considered the first living creature they saw as their mother, but he didn't thought that dragon babies had the same behavior. The girl approached him and started hugging him while calling him mommy. Song told her that he wasn't her mother and tried to push her away since she was about to break his back. The girl didn't listen and continued hugging him, and slowly Song's roots started to unearth. Seeing this, Song panicked, and in order to make the girl let go of him, he told her that she could call him mommy. Upon hearing this, the girl let go of him, and Song felt relieved as he had almost been uprooted. He realized that the girl could understand him. The girl turned around and upon seeing Hwang, she started calling him daddy. Song became furious and clarified to the girl that he was a dog and not her daddy. The girl stared at both of them and then hugged Hwang, calling him dog. Seeing how quickly the girl changed her mind, Song thought that she was quite intelligent, so he asked the girl who he was. The girl stopped hugging Hwang and started pointing at her mouth to indicate to Song that she was hungry. Looking to the side, the girl saw a bowl with insects and quickly she approached the bowl and started eating the insects. In a matter of seconds, she emptied the bowl, then she yawned and fell onto the ground in a deep sleep. Song and Hwang couldn't help but feel tenderness seeing the girl sleeping. The next day, the girl woke up and started crying loudly, telling Song that she was very hungry. Song and Hwang tried to calm her down, telling her that they would go look for food for her right away. Song handed the bowl to Hwang and asked him to go find some food for the girl. Hwang quickly went to look for food, and while the girl cried, Song told her not to cry as the dog had gone to find some food. Song realized that being a parent was not easy as he was getting a headache. After several minutes, Hwang returned with the insects he had caught. While the girl ate the insects, Song and Hwang couldn't help but drool. After eating all the insects, the girl started crying again and told them that she was still hungry. Song felt depressed as she had eaten all the bugs while he and Hwang hadn't eaten any. Hwang took the bowl and went to look for more insects. 1 month later, Song and Hwang were feeding the girl as they did on any other day. Both of them had lost a lot of weight and were exhausted. Song asked Hwang if he was only going to eat one bug today, despite having caught many. Hwang replied that he didn't want to eat any and told Song to give it to the girl. Song told him that this world was very cruel to the hearts of the poor parents. He also gave his bug to the girl and decided not to eat. She had grown a lot in a month, and they didn't know if she was a dragon or a bird as she spent the day eating bugs. They were worried because the girl's appetite was growing and they were concerned that they wouldn't be able to meet her needs sooner or later. Hwang came up with an idea. He told Song that they could use bait to attract bigger prey. Song wasn't sure about this as this plan was very dangerous. Hwang told him not to worry because they had green ears. Song accepted the plan because they had no other choice and told Hwang to be careful and not attract very big prey. Song thought that raising a child was really difficult. Now he finally understood his mother's hard work. After several minutes, Hwang came back running, and upon seeing that he came alone, Song asked him if he had managed to attract any big toads. At that moment, a wasp appeared, and after several seconds, many more wasps appeared and started chasing Hwang. Song thought that Hwang must have hit the wasp's nest using the green ears. Hwang quickly arrived with Song and hid. Now that Hwang had hidden, Song began controlling the thorny vines before the wasps approached. And using the vines, he started throwing the green ears at the wasps. Several green ears hit the wasps. In a matter of seconds, many of them fell to the ground. The remaining wasps advanced towards Song to attack. Song turned around and saw that he had no more green ears left. Song prepared to use the lightning whip against the wasps. When the wasps approached, he used the lightning whip and ended the lives of the remaining wasps. In an instant, he got rid of all the wasps from the hive. Now that he had eliminated all of them, he was quite tired. Hwang and the girl came out of the bushes and started to approach Song. The girl told them that her dad was the strongest. Song ordered Hwang to collect all the corpses of the wasps and the green ears. With so many wasps, they had enough for their daughter to play the fly-eating game. Seeing Hwang picking up the wasp corpses, the girl told Song that she also wanted to help him. Several minutes later, Hwang and the girl managed to gather all the wasp corpses and formed a big mountain. Half a month had passed and this was the first time they could have an abundant meal. As they were eating, Ryuo was observing them while sitting on a chest. Song told Hwang that being parents wasn't easy. Their daughter was growing up and couldn't just feed on insects all day anymore. Now they had to get some meat. The next day, Hwang lured a frog towards Song as he had done before. After several minutes, Hwang reached the area where Song was. He stopped, turned around, and told Song he could shoot. At that moment, a rain of green ears started to fall from the sky. Immediately, Song caught the frog using the thorny vines. In a matter of minutes, the frog lost its life because the thorns pierced its vital organs. After the frog lost its life, Song threw it to the ground and told his daughter that today they had improved their diet and from now on they would eat meat instead of insects. He was happy as he had become stronger again. After improving his vine entanglement, he could now strangle these frogs directly without the need to hit them. After this, Song and Huang started to cut pieces of meat from the frog using the arrow and the broken bone. The girl began to eat the meat and told Song it was very tasty. After this, day after day, Huang used his own body as bait to attract predators to the territory for Song to hunt. Song was worried about Huang's constant behavior of living on the edge of life and death, fearing that one day he would be devoured by one of the prey. In addition, their daughter grew very quickly. In just a month she already looked like a 5-year-old girl. She had a big appetite and these small animals were no longer enough to fill her stomach. He had to find a way to catch some large animals, but he had to avoid attracting lynxes or wild dogs since he currently couldn't defeat them. After hunting a giant frog, Song threw it aside and told Huang that he wanted to see if the frog's corpse could attract other prey. After several minutes, a black rat appeared and began to stare at the frog's corpse from some bushes. The rat didn't take long to come out of the bush and started moving towards the frog's corpse, thinking it had found an easy meal. The rat approached the frog and took a bite. Then, it started carrying it, realizing it had gotten into a big problem. Song, using the vines, began to stalk the rat. The rat tried to escape when it saw this, but it couldn't because Song quickly caught it using the thorny vines. Desperate, the rat bit the vine, and upon receiving harm, Song lifted it in the air and hit it against the ground with all his strength. The rat died instantly, and Song asked Huang if he liked this new hunting method. He told the two of them that now they suddenly had two prey. Today, in addition to their daughter, they would both be able to enjoy an abundant meal. At that moment, Song and Huang heard a very loud sound coming from the sky. When they looked up, they saw a large eagle approaching them. In the blink of an eye, the eagle picked up the black rat's corpse and started flying. Seeing this, Song became furious because the eagle had stolen their food right in front of their noses.